Hello, Algebra 2 students. In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve a rational equation. So rational meaning fraction, meaning we have a variable in the denominator. Equation meaning we have an equal sign in there somewhere. And solve meaning we're going to find values for x that make the equation true. So this first one says, solve each rational equation, check for each solution for reasonableness. We're going to have the possibility here of extraneous solutions, which if you remember is one that we plug it in and it doesn't work. So we have to check these. All right. What are we going to do first here? We have x over x minus 3 plus x divided by x plus 3 equals 2 over x squared minus 9. First thing we need to do is factor the denominator so that we can find a common denominator. This x squared minus 9 factors as x plus 3, x minus 3. So that is my common denominator, this x plus 3, x minus 3, because it covers everything. So now what we're going to do next, after we find the common denominator, is multiply the whole fraction, that whole equation, by that common denominator. Why in the world would we do that? Let me show you. Do you remember we solved some problems where we'd have like 1/2 x equals 4? And when we try to divide, that looks crazy because it says 4 divided by 1/2. We talked about that dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2. We multiply by this denominator, right? Because that makes these cancel out and gets rid of the fraction. If I had 1/3 x equals 12, to get rid of that fraction, I would multiply by that denominator. Because when I multiply that 3, that cancels out, and I have x equals 36, because what you do to one side, you got to do the other. Okay, so we've seen this concept of multiplying by the denominator before. Now we're just using it in a rational equation. Okay, so we said that this common denominator was x plus 3, x minus 3. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by x plus 3, x minus 3 over 1. Now let's think about multiplying that by your first fraction. Okay, this x minus 3 and that x minus 3 would cancel out. So we have this x on top times this x plus 3. Plus, now go to the second fraction. It has the x plus 3, so those would cancel out. I'm going to multiply that x by x minus 3. It's kind of the same thing what you did with adding and subtracting. When we look at this last fraction, 2 over x squared minus 9, it has the x plus 3 and the x minus 3, so we don't have to multiply the 2 by anything. So what have we done? We've really multiplied each fraction by that common denominator. Now we're going to simplify, distribute. Combine like terms. I have x squared and an x squared there, so that's 2x squared. 3x minus 3x, those cancel. Divide by the 2. Take the square root. So we have two solutions, 1 and -1. We really need to plug those in and check them to see if they work. But you also can check for your restrictions. What were our restrictions? Let's go back, get rid of some of these marks. Our restrictions on this denominator, x can't be 3, x can't be -3. Didn't say anything about 1 or -1, did it? So those solutions would work. What did we do? We found the common denominator by factoring, and then we multiplied each fraction by the common denominator because that got rid of the fraction for us. And then we just solved the equation that we had left. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, rational equation. We know it's a rational equation because it has variables in the denominator, has an equal sign. We're solving, so we need to end up with x equals something. Let's factor first. This x squared plus 3x plus 2, what multiplies to 2 and adds to 3? It'd be 2 and 1. So let's think about this. What are our restrictions? X cannot be -2 and x cannot be -1 because both of those numbers would make a 0 in the denominator. All right, now what do we got to do? We're going to multiply this whole fraction by that common denominator. I'm going to rewrite it there so I have a little more room. I'm multiplying this whole entire equation by x plus 2, x minus 1. Nope, sorry, plus 1. I put you don't have to have that over 1, but what I'm trying to show you is that those two factors, x plus 2 and x plus 1, are the top. So when we multiply, remember we can multiply, we cancel out the top and the bottom. So let's look at this first fraction. It has both the x plus 2 and the x plus 1. So in this case, that would cancel with this one and this one. So that's just going to be x minus 1 plus. Now, you're multiplying each fraction in this equation separately. So now it's like this cancel out is not there anymore. Now, compare the second fraction. It has the x plus 2. That would cancel out. And we're left with x plus 1. So we'd have 2x times x plus 1 equals. Third fraction, the x plus 1 would cancel out. And we have x minus 1 times x plus 2. Okay, now we're going to simplify this. We're going to distribute. So I have x minus 1 plus 2x squared plus 2, that's here and here, equals x squared plus 2x minus x minus 2. Okay, I'm going to go to this background so maybe I have a little more room. Okay, let's try to clean this up a little bit. On this side, I have 2x squared plus x plus 1 equals x squared plus x minus 2. Now, to solve this, we need to get everything over to one side. So I'm going to subtract this x squared and subtract this x. Oh, this is a 2x, that's right. Okay, we need to back up a little bit. Okay, bear with me just a second. We had we factored. We found our restrictions. X cannot be -2. X cannot be -1. That's going to come in handy when we start to check in a minute. Now, I'm going to multiply this whole entire fraction by a common denominator. In the first fraction, the x plus 2's cancel. And the x plus 1's cancel. In the middle fraction, the x plus 2's cancel, but the x plus 1 is left. And in the third fraction, we have the x plus 1, but the x plus 2 is left. That's where I messed up right there. So now I have x minus 1 plus 2x squared plus 2x equals x squared plus 2x minus x plus, nope, that's 2. Okay, now let's clean it up. We have on this side 2x squared plus 3x minus 1 equals x squared plus x minus 2. When it's quadratic, you want to get everything to one side and make it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract this x squared. I'm going to subtract this x. I'm going to add that 2. I'm going to take this back up to the top. This is x squared. This is 2x. This is plus 1. Factor that. X plus 1 and x plus 1. Because 1 times 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So this says that my solution would be x equals negative 1 because that's what makes that equal to 0. But our restriction here says x can't be negative 1 because it makes the denominator equal to 0 in the original problem. So since neither one of our solutions work, that would be no solution. What do? We factored the denominator. We multiplied the entire equation by the common denominator. We simplified on the top, did our addition, subtraction, solved for x, checked our solution to see if it worked. Okay? All right, let's try one more. Okay, here we have another rational equation. We know it's rational because it has a variable in the denominator. We know it's an equation because there's an equal sign. And since we're solving, we're going to end up with x equals something. What are my restrictions on this one? X can't be negative 2 because negative 2 would make 0 in the denominator. Now look at these two. What do you notice? These denominators are the same. If those denominators are the same and the two values are equal, the numerators have to be equal. So I'd have x minus 1 equals x squared plus 2x minus 3. No factoring, no multiplying, we're good. Now, we're going to solve it. I know it's quadratic because it has x squared. That means get everything to one side. So I'm going to subtract this x, and I'm going to add this 1. Now, once you have this quadratic, remember you can factor it, you can graph it, you could use quadratic formula if you really wanted to. I'm going to factor it because I have numbers that multiply to 2 and subtract to 1. And I remember that factors and solutions have opposite signs. I also know that I had a restriction up here that said x can't be negative 2, so that one is an extraneous solution. And this one works. And that's it for solving rational equations. Factor the denominator, multiply the whole equation by the common denominator, simplify across the top, solve for x, check your answer. You have a Savas Realize assignment. I believe it is 11:06. It is definitely 11:06. Have a good day.